Sometimes you come across something that looks really simple on the surface, but when you look closer, it's actually a masterclass. That's what we've got here. It looks like a basic script for a YouTube video teaching 300 English words, but hidden inside is an incredible formula for teaching, well, just about anything. Today, we're going to deconstruct it, take it apart piece by piece, and uncover how to make anyone understand almost anything. Okay, let's dive in.
So let's start with a problem I think we've all faced. Imagine you have to learn 300 new things. It doesn't matter what it is. 300 vocabulary words, 300 lines of code, maybe 300 historical dates for a big exam. How do you even begin to tackle that without your brain just hitting a wall? It's that classic feeling of being completely overwhelmed.
And the solution isn't just to work harder or focus more. The real answer, the smart answer, is in the design. It's in the architecture of the lesson itself. The script we're looking at today isn't just a list. It's a carefully crafted blueprint designed to turn a huge, scary task into something that's not just manageable, but actually memorable.
So our mission today is to basically reverse engineer this thing. We're going to unpack the instructions that the video creator was given, and by doing that, we'll get to see the expert thinking behind it all, the powerful educational principles that are hiding in plain sight, making the whole thing work so incredibly well.
Okay, so from a 30,000-foot view, the instructions couldn't be clearer. The goal is super specific. Teach 300 words. The method is systematic. It's consistent for every single word. And check this out. Right from the get-go, the structure and the tone are explicitly designed with the learner in mind. Nothing is left to chance here. This is our foundation. All right, now let's zoom in. We're going from the big picture to the most critical part, the formula they use for teaching just a single piece of information. This is the engine of the entire system. Honestly, this is where the magic really happens.
At the heart of this blueprint is this beautiful four-step cycle that repeats for every single word. First, you see it, which gets the visual part of your brain firing. Then, you hear it, engaging the auditory part. Next, they define it with a simple definition so you actually get what it means. And finally, the clincher, you see it used in a sentence, which builds all important context. It's this incredibly efficient and complete little learning loop.
Now, there's a name for this powerful technique. It's called multisensory learning. And it's not some gimmick. This is based on real cognitive science. See, when you engage multiple senses at once, like sight and hearing, your brain creates stronger, more complex neural pathways. And what that does is it dramatically boosts not just your understanding, but your ability to remember that information later.
And this right here shows you why that is so important. On one side, you've got this multi-sensory approach that builds connections and makes knowledge really stick. And on the other side, well, you have rote memorization, just staring at a list and repeating it. One feels like you're weaving this web of understanding, and the other feels like you're just trying to hold a pile of sand in your hands.
So, the loop for teaching one word is absolutely solid. But how do you scale that up to 300 words without totally burning out the learner? Well, let's zoom back out and look at the genius of the overall structure. Because a great lesson is about so much more than just the content. It's about managing the learner's journey from start to finish.
This whole framework is just built with so much empathy for the user. It kicks off with a quick 20-second intro to make you feel welcome and lower any anxiety. Then, and this is so crucial, it breaks the 300 words into chapters of 10. This isn't just for finding your place, it gives you, the learner, control. It lets you take breaks and learn at your own pace. And then it wraps up with an encouraging ending, which helps build that positive habit of practicing every day.
And out of all the instructions in this script, this one might be the most important. Friendly, clear, and slow. This isn't a command to just dumb things down. No, it's a directive to be empathetic. It's a reminder to recognize that learning something new can make you feel vulnerable, and that can be really intimidating.
And that brings us to a huge point. The feeling of a lesson is just as important as the facts being taught. A great teacher does more than just transmit information. They create an environment of psychological safety. That specific tone, friendly, clear, and slow, it builds trust, it lowers anxiety, and it makes your brain so much more open and receptive to taking in new information.
Okay, so we've looked at the tiny word-by-word loop and the big picture structure. Now let's put it all together. Why is this blueprint so darn effective? Well, it all comes down to 3 universal principles of how our brains are actually wired to learn.
Here they are, the 3 pillars. First, it respects our brain's limits by reducing what's called cognitive load. Taking a massive task and chopping it into these tiny, repeatable steps prevents our brains from just short-circuiting. Second, it builds context. That example sentence is everything. Context is like the glue that moves a fact from your short-term memory into your long-term memory. And third, it gives the user control. When we feel like we're in the driver's seat of our own learning, our motivation just skyrockets.
And here it is, the biggest takeaway of all. Yeah, this blueprint was designed for a vocabulary video, but the principles behind it, they're totally universal. This is a formula you could use to teach someone how to code, or to train a new employee, or explain a complicated idea to a client. You could even use it to teach your kid how to play a new board game. This blueprint, it works for just about anything.
So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. Look at your own life, your job, your passions, your expertise. What complex subject could you make simple, clear, and empowering for someone else if you use this blueprint? What could you teach?